series going, playtime sessions throughout the summer. Every Monday, we have a new set of speakers here with us. And the first session is going to be on health and wellness. Next week, we're going to have gaming with the legend creator of Atari, Nolan Bushnell. And from there, we're going to hit topics such as tech, marketing, advertising, investment, education, and all things tech again, because there's just so much happening in gaming and esports. This is just a passion project that we like to do. We have so many like-minded heads in the actual industry. I apologize. Our speaker's about to jump on with us. I should preface that. So
it's good to have all our friends on with us.
And it's just all of our friends, but at the same time, there's so many industry professionals that are now not coming out of the woodwork, but because of this COVID situation, gaming and esports has taken a little bit more of a spotlight role. And it's amazing to see what has happened, because not only did it get the bump it needed, but it got now finally a bit of the respect it commands, because it's an amazing industry. And as you're about to learn today, we wanted to kick it off with something very non-traditional. So health and wellness is not the first thing you would think of when you think of esports and gaming, but it's actually at the forefront of everything innovative, from technology all the way to the health and wellness, the actual wellness of the pro athlete, which these gamers are becoming. So we're going to get right into it. Again, thank you for being with us. We're going to do this every Monday, and we're very honored to have these three guests with us today. With everything that's going on with the virus, we're so lucky to have these medical professionals with us, and a superstar athlete who is preaching the health and wellness, knowledge and verbiage that we need in this world. So I'm going to bring in our panelists, and we're going to get right into it. And right there, we have Dr. Kaiser Gadiri, that he jumped in with us already. He's a renowned ophthalmologist with a subspecialty in neuro-ophthalmology. The many great things that he does in technology is he's the CEO of Visario, a perpetual AI company. And Visario is doing fantastic things, working with gamers and esports, not all of the side. They've been doing this since 2017. Take a good look at them. And I think we attached a really cool video of his speech earlier in last year. So check that out in the booth section. He's also a domain expert in visual psychophysics and wearables, VR, AR, applied neuroscience. He holds many positions that we're, again, honored to have him with us. He's the associate professor at Stanford. He's the head of the Stanford Performance and Vision Human Perception Lab. He's on the advisory board to many companies, including the entire MBA's medical board with Melita, Dr. Moore, which we'll see in a second, Magic Leap, IRI Pharmaceuticals, the World Health Organization, and the World Bank. Amazing man. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser, for being with us today. He's on. I think his video's off, but our next speaker, I'm going to let both them in right now at the same time. We have Dr. Melita Moore. First of all, happy birthday, Dr. Moore. It's her birthday today. We're extremely honored, and thank you so much, not just to be here on your day, but just in general with us. Dr. Moore is fast becoming one of my very good friends in the industry, and we've only talked maybe 5-10 times. Some people you just click with, and we speak the same language. And that's how I feel about Dr. Moore, and what she's doing in the industry of esports and gaming is amazing in and of itself. She's a quadruple board certified esports and sports medicine physician. She's a team physician for teams in the NBA, WNBA, and the NBA 2K League. So I didn't just say NBA and WNBA. Those are amazing. But now we have this new athlete, which we have an amazing one right there with us today that is crossing over into both athletes. We have two versions of athletes now, and we have a doctor doing both and an athlete doing both. It's amazing. So as a global thought leader in health and wellness of gaming, one of the few heads of teams that's a physician for professional esports in the United States, Dr. Moore is aware of the health and mental health awareness of everything that's going on. We had a great conversation last month with the Mental Health Awareness Month, and thank you so much for being here. And I'll just segue it straight into Miss Ariel Rogers. Thank you so much for being here today. She's a champion athlete and future champion esports athlete. We know that's coming. She's a champion for everything girl gamers, STEM, girl empowerment, but also with the boost that esports has gotten, she's been there before, during, and we'll see a lot to come after. I always said esports equals gaming. Gaming equals gamification. And if you look at what Ariel and Dr. Moore and the team are doing with everything we'll get into, awesome stuff. And we need more of that. So can't wait to see your camps. Thanks, Ariel. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Ariel, thanks for jumping on. Really glad to have you all. I'm gonna leave you guys to it and then catch you in the next segment, Ariel.
Okay.
So you guys enjoy this one. I'll be on the back end just watching.
Okay.
Everybody, if anybody has any questions, throw them in. We've had some questions come in. We'll go after the beginning. We're going to keep it casual. Would love to hear your own intros one by one, what the projects you guys are working on, and all the great things that you do. I'll be able to shut up for a second.
Well, ladies first. I'll take this one. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, we really appreciate you being here and wanting to hear us talk about something that's very dear to us, health and wellness within the gaming community. It doesn't really get a lot of attention, and we are certainly the thought leaders in that throughout this country and globally as well. And so I've been in esports for a little more than over a year, and with that, like Kevin alluded, I am a team physician for a professional esports team here in the United States. I also have a nonprofit, Healthy Gamer Foundation, that's really focusing on girls in gaming, under-resourced youth, and especially here in rural America, where not a lot of people have access to Wi-Fi and tech. And I also have a medical practice where I see esports athletes. So that's what I'm doing in the esports space. This really has been a passion of mine. It's only continuing to grow. So I have a decade of experience in the traditional sports. And so it's very nice to kind of take that same knowledge and background and put it to our new area of sports, although we know esports is not new, but just now people are waking up to see it. So thank you, Kevin and Jocelyn, for the invitation.
Ariel, did you want to go next?
Sorry, I thought it was freezing here. I'm Ariel Powers. Melita talked a lot about health and wellness, and as an athlete and a WNBA player, that's huge for me. But I'm also doing a lot of stuff in the esports world, and now you see with the pandemic going on, traditional sports and esports are kind of crossing over. So I want to bring a health and wellness lens to the esports realm, so they know, hey, us gamers are just not sitting back eating chips and playing. We also have the ability to insert health and wellness into esports. So that's a big thing for me right now, and something I'm working on Melita with.
All right, I guess I'm up. I round out this dream team, and definitely like the two stars already introduced themselves. So a little bit about me. I got into, I've played video games pretty much most of my life. You can actually see there's an arcade game, and there's actually a Magic Johnson signed basketball in the background.
Magic Johnson? I'm Spartan, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, so he's a childhood hero of mine. So I got involved in gaming actually at an early age, and then what happened is, my background's in ophthalmology, so I'm an eye surgeon by background, but my research, even when I was in residency, had involved like how can you understand how like athletic performance both in traditional and also in gaming early. So I was actually putting research in probably about 15 years ago into gaming, using games as a form to actually understand how people perceive and how performance is really tied into your eyes, your brains, and then your body. In terms of Dr. Moore and I both met at UC Davis, and we geeked out on a lot of stuff related to sports, and then it just transitioned into esports. But worked with folks at Riot Games, the NBA 2K. So I've done a lot in terms of some of the health orientations around vision. But, you know, as you'll hear from our talks today, we'll kind of explain how a lot of it kind of goes with, you know, vision is a gateway to the brain. The brain is a gateway to obviously everything else in our body and health and wellness. But, you know, really appreciate Kevin and Jocelyn having us here. I'd love to even talk about other types of tech, AI, and other stuff at another
time. Kaiser.
I know.
That's another panel.
The most important thing is health and wellness here. So I'm really excited to be on here, and I'll shut up because I like to talk a lot. Okay. So
I appreciate you guys. If you can hear me, this is the technical difficulties. They're going to kick us out and on, but just refresh it if it does. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the intros.
I'll chill in the background. Don't worry, it's support.
Yeah, just remember to jump in. Thank you all again. If anybody has any specific questions, I got some of the personal stuff that came in. Thank you very much. We're going to start off by just talking straight wellness. Health is obvious because, not obvious, I should not say obvious, but health is a little more than wellness obvious because everybody goes to diet. Everybody goes to exercise and diet when you talk about health. So wellness is a whole nother story, right? It can include technology. It can include prevention. It can include a different dynamic of exercise and diet that's not just for the now, but for the before and after, right? So the athlete as a whole, if you look at a WNBA star, the diet and the workout is rigorous. No one can deny that. But I would love to hear from Ariel to kick it off, and then from the doctor's position from both sides is, wouldn't we argue that the diet and the exercise is equally as important pre, during, and post-career for an e-athlete as well, because they are at the computer and because of all those factors over and over again in a day. So, yeah.
I think it's really important. You know, I can sit here and I think gamers all across the world will agree with me. You can sit at a game and stream for 3 to 4 hours and not even realize that much time has passed, right? And for me as an athlete, I'm really cautious of what I'm eating before a game, what I'm eating. Even at halftime, I might have a snack, a banana, apple during halftime. And after the game, what am I putting in to replenish my body, right? As an esports athlete, you have to realize you have to do the same thing. Okay, so say I'm sitting before I get on stream and I know I'm going to stream for 3 hours. I want to make sure I eat healthy before my stream. During my stream, I have snacks. I have nuts or fruits that I can grab during my stream, and then after, make sure I eat as well. It's crazy to me that if you don't, you know, actually I read an article a few days ago about Uzi. He is in League of Legends. He's one of the stars, and he's actually retired at a young age because of type 2 diabetes. Now, he has mentioned that it was chronic stress on him. He wasn't eating well. He was obese. And that's another thing I look at when I'm playing. Hey, did I get a workout in today? Now I'm doing things on my Twitch where I'm biking during my Twitch. It's something called a hype train you can do on Twitch. And if any of my followers get the hype train going, I get on the bike. That's if they get it going for 5 minutes to 20 minutes. I'm on the bike and they love that. And it's another way for me to get an exercise in. So me as an e-athlete, I think it's extremely important because you can lose sight of that during your stream or during playing altogether. I lost.
I'm muted. Yes. Okay. That was my own technical difficulty. God bless technology, right? So I think it's important to note that last bit about the hype train, because you just mixed in a super esports, e-gaming, right? And the real world.
Yes.
That is so important, because if anybody knows anything about the hype train on Twitch and when you're streaming, those can go. And those can generate some love and interaction. So some things can donate a lot of money all the way to subscriptions and beyond. So I think that's amazing. That right there, you were able to connect the real and digital world in a very gaming way. Doctors, please tell us about what is it about maybe your affinity to gaming? Is it the posture? Is it the mind? Is it the carpal tunnel? Is it the diabetes?
I think Kaiser and I actually, he's a neuro-ophthalmologist. I'm a sports medicine brain injury specialist. But what we do is so holistic. And, you know, Kaiser and I, before this pandemic, we talked about, you know, really health and wellness around healthy digital lifestyles. And Kaiser said to me, yes, Melita, it's no longer even about that. It's about healthy lifestyles in a digital world, because that's where we're living now. And so when it's whole body, I can speak to all that as well as Kaiser, but just kind of going back to your previous question, Kevin, is, you know, anyone that's getting into gaming who wants to be a professional gamer, it is about the training. And Ariel didn't start playing basketball in high school when she was eating pizza and potato. I mean, it starts very early. So when we're talking about young kids who are in elementary school, middle school, and this is what they're thinking they may want to do, the training starts now. And that is your diet. That is making sure you're getting good exercise, of making sure you get excellent sleep. All these things help to prevent injury, number one, and they help to enhance your performance. So it really is holistic and more on the wellness component.
Yeah, just to add to what Melita was saying, it's you know, it kind of goes beyond, right? There's a lot of kids and folks that are growing up that before they'd grow up to want to be like, you know, the next Michael Jordan or you know, the next
Aerial Powers.
Aerial Powers, the next, you know, and the thing is that they can, but now they can do it virtually. So they can be the next Aerial Powers in, you know, in the NBA 2K, and it's really exciting. But at the same time, like, you kind of think about it, like the way we look at an athlete is very different than compared to an esport athlete. But that perception is starting to evolve. And so what Ariel said about Uzi, you know, really hits home, because, you know, when I go to like when I go to a combine at League of Legends versus one at NBA 2K, the type of player is actually very different. Like a lot of the NBA 2K athletes are very much, they all play sports. They, you know, some are still, like, one guy showed me like some 360 dunks he was doing over cars, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you're like, why aren't you playing somewhere else too? You could be doing both, you know. But and then on the league side, there's folks that they just didn't care about their health. But when you look at it, I remember reading an article on ESPN about a chess player, and he like runs. He like actively runs like 7-8 miles a day. And, you know, so much of, like, you know, we don't think about, when you game, it's so cerebral and involves everything, eye-hand coordination, and there's so much going on, so much processing, that if you actually see somebody, it's almost like like watching a beautiful like symphony or conductor kind of like just going through some magic. But you know, and there's a lot of, it's high performance, and I think a lot of people lose that. So one of the things is there isn't a lot of science onto it. It's something that Dr. Moore and I are really like passionate about too, is how do we bring that research to light? And we've done some of it, and there's, you know, there's some things that we can share a little bit later on about, you know, Ariel had mentioned the fact that she exercises, like, you know, and it helps her. Well, we actually have shown that physical activity can actually improve your performance, certain aspects of it. You know, screen time. One of the things it's not that if you train more and you're in front of a screen more, and especially in a pandemic, we're spending a lot more time in front of a screen. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing in terms of your overall performance. Everyone has like a certain like threshold, and that's different. Some people might be able to stream for like 7 hours nonstop. Some might be 3, but those 3 are very impactful. And it's kind of being able to understand, you know, where your limits are and practice towards those. And, you know, one thing I wanted to ask Ariel too, because I know that, you know, I probably, and also Dr., you know, Melita as well, is just like, you know, what's your is there a difference between your pre-game, like stretching and everything for when you're playing, you know, in the WNBA versus like when you're getting ready for an esport like event? Because, you know, I'm just curious, because I feel like you have to train, you know, regardless of sports, you have to kind of really be, you know, follow a certain type of ritual. So
for me as a gamer, it's funny you asked that. I saw my mom and my dad a few days ago, right? And she gave me this massage thing for my fingers because she knows I'm a gamer and I'm a streamer. So I've been using this massage thing to stretch out my the tendons in my hand, and also for me as an athlete. Certain things, you know, I warm up before a game. You do a warm up. I do my own individual warm up. Then I warm up with the team. I do the same here. You know, I warm up. I might play a few games before I start streaming, because when I stream, I have my fans. I have my crowd there, just like I would have in the WNBA. I would have my fans and my crowd. You wouldn't want to start a stream and not have played a few, right? Or even if you something like a tournament. I play a few games before a tournament. I might play an hour before a tournament just so I'm ready and warmed up. So it's so crazy how traditional sports can connect to esports. So that is some things I do. Along with, of course, if they're going to get the hype train, I need to be warmed up and stretched for that. So that is definitely something I take serious. And I feel like when more of gamers hear this panel that we have, they're going to realize, wow, I'm not doing this. I need to. So,
and we're working on kind of this pre-game, in-game, post-game. We're calling it the powers move, and so it's a whole series of stretches and exercises to do to make sure that, again, you are trying to enhance your performance, prevent injury. So be on the lookout for the powers move.
Hey, do you want to not just say a little bit about that powers move, or say what you want, but I think it's important to note that we're bleeding the physical with the digital very quickly, and not just gaming as in gaming, and not just tech as in, one piece of tech. And I love what Visario is doing, and we'll get into that. But that's a very highly specified piece of tech that's going to revolutionize vision and gaming. But we just heard from Ariel and two doctors say that health, wellness, pre, during, post, it's all the same. Longevity, retirement. You used all the keywords, all the adjectives that would be used the same way in a retirement speech, all the way to rookie getting his, putting on his cap. And same goes with the future of the rookie picking which esports team does he want to play for. And the coaches and the teams are going to look at, did this person or athlete, e-athlete, have a personal trainer? Does he have a PR? Does he have a, marketing, all of that? But does he also or she have a PT? Does she have a full-time traveling? Because that's the person I want on my team, because most likely I'm going to spend less over the longevity of that contract. And that's what I heard, out of that last one.
Yes, it's interesting. I was with one of our traditional professional teams in the locker room, and I was saying, I need to go and take care of our gaming team. And they all said, what do they need a doctor for? And I said, the exact same thing that you need one for. Yeah. So the way that we treat our professional esports team, we treat them just like our traditional athletes, with having access to massage therapists, chiropractors, physicians, nutritionists, those kind of things. So when you are talking about a professional team, if you do not have that, you are well behind the ball, because you have to invest in your product, and your product are the gamers or the e-athletes. I know e-athlete is a controversial term. Some people don't want to be referred to that. I do. I call them, because I'm a sports medicine doctor, so I take care of e-athletes. So it's very, very important. They can call us.
Really quickly, don't forget that Rick Fox championed for this term athlete many years ago. He went and talked to, I believe, Congress or Senate, one of them, to champion for the term to be used athlete, because of many factors. But there was a lot of bullying going on of the nerds. And once the bullying came in, Rick Fox did fantastic stuff to turn these athletes, these gaming nerds, into out-of-closet athletes. And they're not just hiding in their mom's basement or closet anymore. They're coming out, and some of my players are making incredible money, life-changing money at 18, 19 years old, playing these amazing games, because he is influencing 8,000 to 12,000 people at one time online. So it's important to note, like you just said, like, this is bigger than just an e-gamer. This is not a gaming, these are athletes.
I would say that, just to kind of go on with that, I think the huge opportunity in esports is kind of revolutionizing even perception. I think, when we talk about the athlete, however you identify yourself as, in terms of like, a man, a woman, or whatever type of identity you use, it's a way of just kind of just showing your pure skill and being able to do it where it's exciting. Like you think about, how, like, in traditional sports, we have the WNBA and we have the NBA, but what's beautiful about the NBA 2K, it doesn't matter. You're just an athlete, and when you actually see them perform, it's like you can see, like what you said, Kevin, about the blend of digital and physical, because you're literally watching, like, a simulated environment looks so real, but you're seeing these folks do things with a paddle and with a keyboard and track, and you're like, there's no way I'd be able to do any of that. And people don't realize it. And the perception is just, I'm glad that Rick Fox and others are kind of like leading the charge. And, when you think about, the bullying and everything else, I think, the platform for gaming is so powerful because it can reach a lot of things. It's a way of connecting with folks in so many different ways. Like, some of the things that Errol has mentioned in terms of even like the hype train and some of the other things of just connecting to folks. I mean, but you can do it globally and you can do it locally, and it's a new platform. And I think that's really exciting. There's a lot of crossover. I mean, you've seen a lot of that and so like getting health and wellness out there is so important because sure, we're talking about an athlete and how they can perform, but really it's talking to like those young kids, whether they become an esport athlete or they become like the next, tech like entrepreneur or whatever, or like the next congresswoman or like the next whatever, everyone's in front of a screen. But getting healthy habits early, like being able to stretch, like if you're like some like superstar programmer or you're like some champion like athlete, you should still know the same kind of power moves. You should still know how to like stretch out and stuff so you don't get migraines, you don't get back problems. Because we're starting on screens at a very early age. And so like these are things that I think are broader. That's why the WHO is involved with, some of the discussions around like gaming and ecosystems. And, and some of the discussions we have is like, this is a great access point to help 2.2 billion people game around the world. It's a great way to connect.
And then there's the gamification of health and wellness too. You have the Fitbits, you have the trackers, and then you have like what Adidas did with the in-shoe sole. Now you can play FIFA, the game, and upload your stats as if you were in the real world. So any one of us can actually be the future Ariel Rogers, right? That's the dream. That's the dream, right? Everybody says, I want to be Michael Jordan. And then Melita came in and said, no, don't forget about the Powers. I'm sorry, not Rogers.
It's okay. It's okay.
I heard myself say it again. I was like, I apologize. Damn, Rogers is in the news, Ariel, like that's the dream for the athlete, right? And now they're looking at the e-game or the e-athlete and they're like, holy crap. She's actually more interested and possibly going to do more of an impact on the greater side because there's more females that can feel good. Not that they don't feel good about her as an athlete, but they look at her on the screen and they're like, wait, that's closer to what I actually feel. Because there's more of us keyboard warriors than there are, Ariel Powers, the basketball champion, right? There's a lot more of us on this side. Very few of us attain that goal of seeing what you've seen, right? So, meshing in that world of like, you said something really interesting. I have to play a couple warm-up games. This is no different from, layups, free throws, same. You cannot leave the court until your coach says you make 100 free throws. And this is a true fact for a lot of teams. That could be the new, I can't leave the, first person shooter game until I get 100 kills, or I can't leave the League of Legends game till I at least help my team do X. That right there is teaching leadership in and of yourself. You're leading yourself. Anything you want to, further say about that? And on the medical side, what is that doing to the brain, which is in creating inherently stronger minded athletes? Metaphysically, literally we're changing the psyche of these gamers to think like Ariel's thinking pre-game, during, and post. I think that's amazing.
I think what you said, Kevin, is important. You said, hey, I can't get off of here until I get 100 kills, or I can't get off of here until I help my team do this. And it's showing leadership. It's also showing a few things like accountability. When it's funny, I played Apex the other day. I used to play with my family, right? I'm a big family girl, and they all play video games, so this is amazing. But they weren't on. So in Apex, you have to communicate because it's a team game. Like a lot of these games, you have to be able to communicate. And I use that as an athlete in my sport, communicating. Hey, are we going to hedge this screen? Are we going to switch? Who's going to, pop out if we hedge? Switching. And it was funny. I was playing Apex and my team didn't have headsets. So we were just pinging. We actually won due to communication. And I think it's so important that people know and parents know, especially because, now we're getting where parents know a little bit about esports, but they're still like, hey, I don't want my kid looking at a screen for hours and they don't know much about it. So now when you flip their minds into, hey, these are characteristics that they can use outside of esports to help better them as a person. Now they're invested. And I think that's really important too.
On the medical side of that, we always talk about mental health in the gaming community. And more times than not, it's more about the negative part of the mental health, the depression, the anxiety, the isolation, which is very key. And even before this pandemic, it's been amplified now with this pandemic. But we very rarely do we talk about the flip side of the positive part of mental health. And when we are working with our teams or our e-athletes, it's really about coming together as a team. It's about strategy. It's about how to get in the zone, but stay in the zone and not go past it so you don't, lose your cool and now you've lost your focus and concentration. It's really about teamwork, and the mind is a powerful thing, and we know it's mind over body. And so when we're talking about, putting that into our brain power and really exercising that big muscle of the brain, mental health is just a huge part of gaming for the competitive edge, but also talking about the underlying things that kind of accompany more of the traditional gamer. And so we can't stress the importance of just being mentally sharp and being mentally focused.
Yeah.
I would just say, Dr. Kaiser, what is the just segue it into the vision, because vision like literally is starting with, anything mental, anything gaming, physical, we're starting here, right? If the 2 millimeter rule in golf is not a vision thing, right? It's twisting your wrist thing. It's a movement of the neck thing. It could be a vision thing. But if you look at like League of Legends, you got 5 people on a screen battling 5 people. Same thing as a basketball court. You lose your vision, you got to put on glasses like James Worthy. And if you lose that, if they scratch your eye like a Bill Walton, you got to sit out the game and figure it out. Now, in this scenario, we're same, right? If the guy, but you're doing some great work in technology for vision, and that's going to go straight mental and make that athlete better, or at least quicker, faster, stronger. Love to hear about that, because Ariel alluded to that. It's like mental and like, what can we do for our vision to either take care of it or prepare better?
Yeah. So, no, it's a nice segue. Just based off what everyone was saying. I mean, there's a balance, right? I mean, everyone talks about some of the negativity related to gaming, and then also we just talked about some of the strategy, decision making, everything, all the mental fortitude that you can gain from gaming that works both on the performance side, but also in your everyday life, whether you're studying, whether you're you're going to school or you're working or things like that. But to get to the point of vision, so technically your eyes are an extension of your brain. So a lot of processing happens at the level of the eye before it goes to all different areas of the brain. And so my background, so I'm an ophthalmologist, but my subspecialty is neuro-ophthalmology, and my big interest is really how do you understand more about brain processing and intelligence through how we interact with our environments, whether it's a digital environment, whether it's a physical environment, or whether it's a combination. It's like we haven't even talked about VR headsets and augmented reality, and that's for another panel. I know Melina is going to be like, but that goes more into the blur. So a lot of what we're doing is how do we create an intelligence so we call it perceptual AI, but how do we, my goal really is to kind of, how do I create a Jarvis or a generalizable AI? And a lot of it starts off with like, how do we perceive our environments? And what's beautiful about gaming is it allows us a great way. So, Dr. Moore and I are also, we're physicians, but we're also scientists. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity in gaming, and, having people like athletes like Ariel, she's like she's great because she's like this dual, what's the best way to put it? She's like a dual rock star in the sense that she is both a professional NBA player. So you can like learn so much just from the traditional sport, but then at the same time, she's also this esport phenomenon too. So it's like, okay, so there's a lot we can learn there. And so those are some of the opportunities that we're looking at in terms of studying athletes, both traditional and esport at Stanford. And a lot of it's to your point, you talked a little bit about FIFA and Adidas and how people are starting to use different types of sensors to measure like the biology of us. And vision is one of the easiest ways of doing that, because we spend 9 to 11 hours. Everyone globally spends, almost half their day in front of a screen. So when you think about it, it's not just what you're looking at, because it's what you look at, but then it's how you're reacting to it. And so a lot of what we're doing, both academically and then through like and just in terms of technology is we now have a lot of ways of capturing those different types of biological informations, and how we're like taking those signals and understanding human behavior, and how people are actually, understanding people, whether they're at work or play or performance, and they're like, in terms of sport. So we sit in an exciting time in that sense. I don't know if you want me to go deeper in terms of the like the cranial nerves and all of that, but really your brain, 70% of your brain performance and processing is visual in nature. So that's why this is so powerful. That's why gaming is a great medium for us to not just understand the athlete, but understand the science. And I think that's what's really exciting.
I would be super interested to see I think we have two right here, right? We need to take Ariel and not just study her abilities like they used to do the sports science, the ESPN sports science, which is an amazing program, right? Amazing. But now look, I don't think we have another one. We have a couple male NBA athletes doing it, but wow, what is cognitively happening? What is the speed in which it's being processed for her basketball game, or vice versa, because she was a basketball athlete and now a gamer? Is there something to be said there? That's a fantastic thesis that I would like to read, because that's going to open up a lot of doors. It's like the duct tape rule, right? NASA didn't know what the heck they were doing when they went to the moon, but they came out with 50 other products. Now, if we work with athletes that are dual, like that double-edged sword you were talking about, what else can come of it? VR specifically is being used in football as we speak. They have this chest thing and the camera, and the quarterback can see everything. It's kind of like a real life. Yeah, that's right, exactly. And basketball, is there anything like that right now, Ariel? Like that, maybe not VR headset, because that'd be a little tough, but game room or film. I can imagine AR might be something to come up.
I haven't seen anything that is similar to what you were talking about with the VR. And it's interesting that you said that, Kevin, because a lot of people, now that they know, hey, Ariel is obsessed with gaming and she plays 2K, they ask me, hey, is there a difference? What is similar? And to them, I talk to them, because a lot of people say, wow, Ariel's IQ on the basketball court, where to move the ball, when to move the ball, is on point, right? And then when I go and I play 2K, it's funny, you can always tell the people that have never really played, because they won't make that extra pass, or they won't set a screen here. And I'm thinking, I'm like telling them, I'm like telling them, hey, swing one more. And it's so funny, because I've always wondered that how much is it similar when it comes to my brain? Because I know on the court, I'm thinking these things. When I'm playing 2K, I am thinking these things too. So what is the difference? What is the time difference, that relates to 2K and me actually playing basketball? I think we should get something going where we can figure this out.
So
like get it down to the sports science, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we actually have been starting to work on. So what Ariel's talked about, spatial processing. One little like anecdote is part of the reason why I got into, like, early on in my training into studying sports, and on the vision side of things, and on the processing side of things, was a story about Dell Curry, Steph Curry's dad. So he one of my colleagues was working with the Raptors and Dell Curry was this phenomenal sharpshooter from long distance, but he didn't like wearing contact lenses to correct him to 20/20, and it was because it messed up his ability to, it messed up his 3-point percentage, and so he actually liked being a little bit blurry. So he liked being at 20/30, and that seems completely off when you think about LeBron and all these other guys and gals are getting LASIK, but it's like, you start learning a certain way and you start processing. And then like what Ariel's talking about is that helps you kind of anticipate. So she's anticipating 3 moves ahead on the court, whether it's virtual or whether it's real.
Exactly.
And so in terms of studying this and measuring it, like, I think when you mentioned my introduction, it had to do a lot with like, visual psychometrics and stuff like that. What that is, it's a measure of, so when we're in front of a screen, it's a brain machine interface. It's us, like, in terms of visual is part of your brain, right? Your eyes, as I mentioned. So anything that we're doing, we can actually measure signals. And so what we've been able to do is we've created some technology that can be applied into any type of game, any game. And so part of this is for us to kind of expand the science of sport. We really need to talk to the Unities of the world and the, you know, the Unreal, you know, like the Epic Games with the Unreal Engine and all these folks in terms of being able to capture this type of information. Because, you know, this is kind of what Melita and I are looking at, you know, in terms of our research, is how can we actually capture, whether it's from a camera, whether it's not a camera, it's just from the game itself, how do we capture this type of data? Just like you can capture data from, like, you know, how many steps you walk and or your heart rate. There's a lot that we can do. So we've already created some of this technology. We've actually published some of this academically too. So what's really exciting is we can learn a lot about how Ariel is processing all this information.
I think
we actually have
that
right
show.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to say that that's there, but I won't go too deep because I can geek.
Dr. Moore, what are you seeing, like, working with the team directly, right? Like, if we take the team a new piece of technology and we have now Ariel or not, like, let's say, like, you know, Ariel's doing nothing, but you're going to now go see, hopefully make the athletes just as better, faster, stronger as Ariel's now alluding to, not just cognitive, but speed and 3 steps ahead. How is the team's response, or the league, or the higher ups that are decision makers, to really make an impact? So if we bring them a good piece of technology, like what was reinstated, not reinstated, I guess they were using it a long time ago, the 3D, the VR, the quarterback can see the whole field. I don't know what that technology is called. I apologize. You just said it, Dr. Kaiser. Striver, yeah, amazing technology. What if we did something like that in the NBA or WNBA, but it's very gamified? Are they open to things like that in technology on health and wellness, or what's their response from you know, what you've been working on?
No, so the players themselves are always open to trying something that's new, that's not going to be detrimental, that can potentially help their performance. You know, winning is the ultimate prize here, and as we know, you know, world champion, WNBA Washington Mystics, that's the final goal that everyone wants to get to in esports. It is the trophy, the award. So the players are always interested in open, and there's never usually an issue with that. Where we can affect change is, like you said, at the top with the decision makers, and we're lucky here in the Washington DC area, and Ariel works under Monumental Sports, and they are very cutting edge when it comes to esports and technology, and even things that we're looking at for our traditional teams, along with our NBA 2K team. So I think it just depends on the league. Leagues are very savvy these days. There's so many specialists and experts, but it's about having the right person bring the right technology, because things come in all the time. I'm asked to kind of look at things, say, hey, is this something we should use or not? And a lot of it is crap. But, you know, it's about fine tuning. It really is, and sifting out really that cream and taking that cream of the crop and being able to present it in a way where we know it's going to be able to have something. So they're very open, and the players are. And so that's why the leagues have had to shift to be more open-minded.
Yeah, I think that whenever you have a piece of technology is inherently scary because of its change. People don't like change, but inherent change creates the largest impact. The most successful people, the most successful technologies will tell you that the massive amount of shift, a quantum leap shift in anything technological is always going to be the best way. It'll take some time. There's troubleshooting, as we learned today. And I've been working in what I say, I'm a technological person, but it was the least today. But that's such is life. You know, we have to test, we have to retest and get to a place where technology is going to help the athlete be able to beat the computer, because we're all worried about this computer coming up, this AI coming up, that is going to, are we going to be robots? So there's going to be no athlete. That's a bit much, right? But Harvard's done some studies that says, you know, we got a machine that'll beat any gaming athlete, and just give us a time to do an algorithm, let us study it, and we'll beat any athlete in the world. And I mean, what's the point of that if we have hackers now not being able to go into, like, I used to see my competition. You know, I used to go to the arenas, but with this COVID situation, it's digital. And digital is going to create a lot of headaches. So you see Riot Games had to take a 2-week break between when COVID hit. So they went offline. So they got in front of all this hacking stuff. And now if I have a super athlete and I have an Ariel who's dual, and now she's got 2 doctors behind them and doing massive. Imagine the possibilities. No, none of what I just said in that last sentence was illegal. That's all legal. We spent the time and money to make, you know, Ariel's gaming the super, because now I think that's amazing. So I can imagine the larger teams, the Cloud9s, the Team Liquids, the G2s, they're going to definitely adopt not just psychologists, they all have them right now, but, metrics, AI, VR specialists. Each one of those is independent of each other, a vision specialist, a team doctor. So now you're going to have 10 or 15 people where you used to have marketing, but I believe they're going to get replaced with a lot of other people. This series is something very interesting. Today is about health, right? And it's something very different. But next week it's about gaming. And Mr. Nolan Bushnell created Atari, just Pong. And that revolutionized. Now we're getting into cognitive enhancements on the basketball court. Amazing revolution that came up. We're ending right now, but this is a good one. And I've had some people message me like, hey, give us more. I got some questions coming in. We added some poll questions that I got asked, and I want to quickly jump in, and then I'm going to upload your presentation and we'll quickly run through it because I know there's a few good things. If you think that you want to pick some stuff out, we'll run through it. But first question that was on the poll was, what part of your body have you felt ache the most from gaming, working, or being at the computer too long? So all four of us have one of those. So I'll toss it up. Where do you see Ariel, like when you're coming off the court and then you're sitting for a session and the streaming, is it head, mind? Is it lower, upper arms? Is it the lower back? Or, really, like where are you feeling?
Me, it's going to be something that, people probably wouldn't have thought of. It's my hip for me. You sit down, I've torn my left hip labrum. I had repairs on it. So for me, especially when they get the hype train, getting up out of my seat and moving to the bike and getting my legs moving, it's better for me because of what I've been through as a traditional athlete. And I'm sure people, gamers, you do other things besides gaming that, for me, it's my hip. So that is something for me. And then, I told you about my mom having the finger massager thing. Yeah. For me, I've hurt my fingers a few times. So sometimes I have to stretch my finger. Look, I'll show you guys. You see this pinky?
Wow.
So like stuff like that, that's important. This is why health and wellness is so important to me, because of the injuries that I've already had as an athlete. Now when I sit down and I'm on my monitor or I'm gaming, it translates over. So I have to make sure I'm still taking care of those injuries while I'm gaming. So that's, for me, it's my hip.
Yeah.
And she has two doctors that get into her chat to remind her sometimes of her posture and her hydration.
That's funny. Dr. Kaiser, obviously you're a vision specialist, so you might get that question a lot. Is the vision the problem? Should I correct or wear glasses? All those things. I'm a contact lens guy myself. 15 years. I get it. I know the inherent risks and everything, but what are you seeing gamers have most problems with?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it is just the biggest problem is education, I think, because a lot of people don't know how to kind of like explain their issues until you actually like bring it up. So in terms of vision, like they'll be like, oh, like their eyes might be tearing up a lot. And I'm like, well, you have dry eye. And they're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, actually, it's a reflex tear because your eyes are so dry, it's actually producing tears. And, or they'll have eye strain or they'll have migraines. They don't realize that the migraines are connected to, so my specialty involves like all the 12 cranial nerves that kind of take in all the information that allows you to understand yourself. Like I said, a lot of it's vision related, but a migraine you might not consider being related to vision. But as Melita will also like kind of explain, it's your posture. And so like you're asking for myself, a lot of it has to do with like, sometimes I'm like hunched like this. And so my shoulders, my neck, everything's like kind of like, I know I'm so like being able to stretch out and doing these types of things, it helps. But, in terms of vision, eye strain's a big deal, making sure you take breaks. We'll probably go over that in the slides because I know that Ariel and Melita are really pushing the 20-20-20, which I love. And we'll explain that a little bit later.
I'll throw that up right now because I wanted to get a break going for people. I appreciate everybody there, but there's just so much. There's a lot of good stuff that I'm learning a lot, and I know a lot of people are. So I'm going to throw this up really quickly. Just going to go through it. Let me know, Melita. Please, would love to hear your point about. Is there any one specific place that you're seeing athletes, e-gamers, have difficulties with?
Yeah, and there's two, and I am going to be cognizant of the time. One is gamer thumb, which we're seeing a lot of, which is pain kind of coming right through here, which are the tendons that come down into the thumb, whether you're on the controller, whether you're on your mouse. So gamer's thumb is huge, and low back, because you are sitting for an extended period of time. Your hamstrings get super tight, your core is not strong, and so low back is huge, and gamer's thumb.
Yeah, I mean, I was a tennis player, and elbow is my thing. So that's why when I sit like this, it scrunches up my shoulder. But that's just because I need the armrest to be high, to be at 90 degrees. But everybody's has got a problem. But we do need to prevent that. Whoever wants to take it away, let me know if you want me to change it. But we'll go quickly through the slides that they prepared. Please do.
Yeah. Well, one thing I know we certainly wanted to hit on was our nutrition slide, because we didn't, and Kevin, you need to invite us back for another panel, because we do have so much good information to get out there. But nutrition is so key. And when we're talking about brain health and eye health and overall body, there are certain vitamins that you should be getting in that help with your eye and your brain health. So vitamins A, B, C, D, E, which just sounds like the alphabet, but these are all very good ones. So vitamins A, C, E, ACE, are really good for your eyes. And vitamins B, E, D, BED, are good for your brain. And so there's several foods that you can eat that have these vitamins in it. And zinc is huge for your eyes and for your brain. And right now, zinc also helps with your immunity. And so one thing everyone wants to do is make sure their immune system stays up. When your immune system is not really well, it kind of exposes you to be able to get an illness quicker than someone else. And so nutrition is key. Hydration, hydration, hydration. Whether you're sitting all day, it needs to be water, not a ton of energy drinks, not a ton of caffeine. If you are going to have caffeine, it's good water. At least it's, organic coffee, it's green tea, and the antioxidants and things that you can get. So we just want to make sure that everyone, because that's how you feel your body, it's how you feel your brain. And so the snacking, not great. Get a granola bar, get a trail mix versus your potato chip. So that was one thing. And then Kaiser, you want to talk about sleep?
Yeah, I can talk about sleep. If you, Kevin, do you mind kind of going down on the slides? Go down one more. If you go up, just one slide back.
Which one did you want? Nutrition?
The one, the nutrition, just so they can kind of see it. Just what Melita was just talking about. I think that's kind of important, because the key thing is where they can get this type of nutrients. You can either get them as supplements, but a lot of it is just natural. It's eating right. And just to add to what Melita was saying about the vitamins like D and zinc, those are things that we need, especially in the pandemic, because we're inside more. So you're not getting that vitamin D outside. And if you are, wear a mask and wear gloves. We're still in a pandemic. I know that we have a lot of amazing things going on in terms of just, changing, a lot of social movements are going on right now, and it's really important, but we also have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. So vitamin D and zinc, but also like when we're out and about, to keep the mask on.
Really quickly, sorry not to interrupt, but I wanted to say, Ariel, this must be right in tune with what the locker room is saying too.
Yes, it is. We talk about, Kaiser made a great example. You can't really go outside right now. We're doing a lot of things inside. For me, along with the biking, sometimes I do try to get out and jog and come back. And it's really important on what you're eating, because you don't want to gain weight just because the pandemic has hit, right? It's important to maintain your body. And for me getting out and exercising, or exercising inside, mentally it helps me. Mentally I feel better, so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you said zinc. Zinc is something that people forget that's just important all the time, but it maintains retina health. That in and of itself, gamers, it's a tasteless medication, not even medication, supplement that you can take. Perfect. Can be added to everything, right? It's such a perfect thing to just like improves memory, retina health. Put it in their water already,
Yeah,
and it's powders now that you can take. You just shake them up, for a gamer, from a gamer's perspective, and you're sitting here, gamer. You have your water, you have the powders with certain things that you need, and you just shake it up, and you sit there and you drink it during your stream. It's easy, simple.
Yeah,
exactly.
One last thing on that is that Ariel's gaming career might be beyond her basketball, like her traditional basketball. So all these things we're saying to take, if you start this now and make it a habit, this will help you, because your gaming career could be 30 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. So
I agree.
we were going to go to sleep. I don't know if we want to touch on any of these things.
Well, in the interest of time, is there a vision slide that you want to put up, Kaiser, that shows?
Yeah, I think we can go down to, if we keep going down towards the end, there's like a vision tips, and before that, I just want to show some study stuff that we've done too, just around physical activity and screen time, because I know those are two things that come up a lot when we talk to some of the athletes and even the coaches. So if you go down, all the stuff is some of the stuff related to how we can measure like performance. So we'll do that another time. Kevin, basically what Melita and I did was we created a deck, so you have to bring us back.
So here's the vision tip.
If you go.
I have so much affinity for health and wellness. My father and my mother, all of the, but this needs to be talked about more and more. I'm happy that we couldn't get it all into this seminar, because it really is educational. I've learned a lot, but if there's any vision tips here, I believe this is the slide you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, right before this, if you can just go 2 slides up, I just want to just point on this, because this goes to what Ariel and Melita have said. So I just wanted to show that there's data, because our audience, anyone that's a gamer, they're all about the metrics, right? So we want to just say, this isn't just, we're not just saying things that might say, oh, that seems like common sense. No, we want to actually give you some of the data. So why is physical activity, why is Ariel running out both indoors and outdoors? Why is that important? And why does that make her feel good from a mental standpoint? Well, it's because we've actually shown studies, like these are with professional e-sport, e-athletes, right? Or e-sport athletes, or whatever we're going to say is like the appropriate thing to say. But really, at least if you do 1 to 2 hours a week, it increases your overall performance and being able to multi-track your contrast sensitivity, your reaction time. We can go into all the different details at another time, but we've actually shown this study that you just need to get in a couple hours a week, So to the next slide real quick, Kevin, and then we'll finish with the vision tips. And then screen time. So here's one of the things that I've had actually professional athletes come to me saying, hey, our coaches are telling us we need to be in front of the screen, but some of us, after a few hours, we just can't perform, but they're telling us to continue to perform. Can you talk to our coaches, And that's that's a little bit disheartening, but it's also just from the standpoint that in other types of things that we do, it's like, oh, more is better, more practice is better and everything else. But that's not a one size fits all kind of bucket. And so what this is showing is that on average, most people after about 5 hours of screen time, they start to have a decrease. And so it's knowing to take breaks. So that goes right into the next slide.
I think that's important to mention. Like, literally, that needs to be on the front screen of every game developer when it comes on. Like, don't forget that the more you play, the worse you become. Like, this isn't a product of like when Kobe said, wake up at 3 a.m. and go shoot basketball. This is a bit different, because unfortunately blue screen and all those headaches that can cause eye fatigue are a real thing. So I think it's a very important note you just made.
I think you can actually kind of so growing up, trying to get into the WBA, my father always taught me it is quality over quantity. Okay. So that means, say I am a Kobe and I get up at 3 a.m. and I have 3 practices where another girl only has 1 and hers might be 3 hours, but I've had 3 different practices at the highest intensity, at the best performance that I can have, because I'm doing lesser time, but I'm getting in a better performance. So overall, I'm going to be better than her. And that's another thing you're talking about, Kaiser, when it comes to 5 hours of play rather than maybe an hour and a half to 3 of play, where my performance is here because I can't perform at that rate that long. So yeah, I agree with that.
What's another sad part is that we'll get into it. This is just so much to get into, is that sometimes the streaming develop, like the streaming providers, the Twitches, the contracts that they have with these athletes are so rigorous that you don't get an option for 5 to 10 hours. Like, you got to do 12 hours a day if you want your $1 million Twitch contract. And I literally, right when we were speaking, when we were about to go to break, I got a text from one of my players. He's a League of Legends professional, saying, I'm going to go to streaming. Don't call me for 3 hours. I said, don't you have practice today from 1 to 7? He said, yeah, but I got 10 to 1 to stream. I'm like, wow.
But Kevin, this is the information that gamers don't know. They don't know what they don't know. And it's up to people just like us having these panels, this education, to where people can be informed. And I think once more people are informed, we will start to see that shift, because we certainly have shifted that with our team.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And I'll leave with the vision tip part in terms of just this, because I know we're in terms of time. But one thing I want to say is just like, if we could, from this panel, if we can just get people to think differently from the top, the management, all the way down, because, you know, type 2 diabetes is real. You know, like some of these things are real, and this isn't related to your career, this is related to your life. And so the thing is if some of what we've said today can really make an impact on any of the folks that might be watching this, I think, you know, that's what gets us out of, at least, you know, Melita and I, out of bed. And Ariel, it's amazing, just like her passion behind it too, because, you know, she's, you know, I hate to use the term woke because I feel it's disingenuous because I'm kind of like older, but she understands. So I'm not trying to be like,
she's well informed.
I'm not that hip. But okay, so just real quick about the vision tips. So the 20-20-20 rule, what is that? Well, everyone knows 20-20 is kind of related to really good vision. So for every 20 minutes, take a 20-second break, look out at least 20 feet. That doesn't mean close your eyes. That means wherever your game, I know some people like to have a completely dark room, get out of your room and just look out to a distance of 20 feet, because you have to reset your eyes, okay? Artificial tears, it's just like lubricating your eyes, because, you know, we don't blink as often when we are concentrating, whether it's reading, whether it's in front of a screen. So especially when you think about a gamer, their blink rate decreases tremendously. And every time we blink, we produce a tear. So when you're not blinking, you're not producing tears. And that can lead to a chronic issue. And so, you know, if you're not taking enough breaks, just make sure that you lubricate during that time. And, you know, in terms of artificial tears, I will tell you, and hopefully the people from Visine and Clear Eyes don't come after me, but anything that says get the red out, do not use. The reason why you don't use anything with get the red out is people that have it masks the symptoms. It just makes the eyes look white, but at the end of the day, it's not really solving the problem of the dryness and irritation. And for some people that have a family history of glaucoma, it can increase your risk for glaucoma. If anyone wants to know exactly how that works, you can hit me up later, because I can go through that. In terms of just examinations, like, you should see a sports medicine and an eye care professional. We both go hand in hand in this new age of digital and physical blur, right? Because what we just talked about, like your hip, like what Ariel was saying, I have a right hip problem too, because it's from driving. So anytime you sit down for a long period of time, I live in LA, so you drive, Kevin, you know this, you drive a lot and you're in your car a ton. So we both probably have labral issues that we don't even know about. But
haven't you seen me get up like 10 times like this? Like, I can't sit straight, you know? It's already been an hour. I got to go do my 20-20-20 rule, you know?
Yeah, you got to do it. So those are just some of the little things that we just got to think about, that, you know, your eye, your brain, your body, everything is connected, you know, to your knee bone, your head bone, all the different bones. So that's a little bit on the vision tips. And I don't know, Melita, if you want to like add anything else.
No, I just want to thank Kevin and Jocelyn for inviting us. I know that we are well over our time. We're excited to stay on for Ariel's fireside chat. But this has really been awesome. Yeah, this has been awesome. And this is what we love to do, is really about education. And we have not even touched the surface on what we can talk about and how we can be beneficial to gamers, stakeholders, decision makers. So thank you again for having us. We have had a great time. It's a great way to spend my birthday.
No, and for the people that may have joined late or just coming on, or will see this again, Dr. Moore came on her birthday today. And she's been up since 2 a.m. working, and she's here with us. And anyway, much love. Happy birthday.
She looks fabulous.
You look
thank you.
Really. Happy birthday.
It's a passion.
I couldn't have, we postponed this a few times because of some events going around the world, but also some technical difficulties we had. So apologies, but thank you so much for all three of you and your energy. Dr. Kaiser, thank you so much for your knowledge. I learned a lot. I learned so much that I'm messaging my player your chart of the 5 hours, because that is so important to see, because it's so true. This is not basketball in the sense of free throws. This is your health, right? This is a connected, everything is connected. So, Ariel, thank you so much. We're going to have the pleasure of speaking with Ariel. Jocelyn's going to jump on for a fireside chat, 15 quick minutes of getting in her head about what is her passion of girl, gamer empowerment, and all the things she's doing. This is where we say goodbye to Dr. Moore and Dr. Kaiser. Thank you so much.